What has working internationally taught you about communicating across cultures?
Well, the American culture and the UK culture are kind of similar, and in many ways really different. So having the office in the US has been a huge help because we've hired people and I've spent much more time here on the ground with people that I work with. So that's been really interesting. Interpreting how Moo is and should be locally in the US, I think we're only really getting around to that now in a funny sort of way. And certainly our assumptions about what a customer that does one job in the UK and a different job in the same job rather in the US, how different that can be. So like realtors here in the US, we don't even have that phrase in the US. A real estate agent in the UK, the structure of their businesses, how they operate, the what that job entails and how it works and what the rewards are. And you need to be here really to understand that. You need to travel. You can't just assume that it's the same. Culturally in work, of our employees is very different. Everyone drives to our office in the US. Very few people drive to our office in the UK. So it's more sort of social. People go out drinking after work in the UK, whereas that happens less so in the US. So I think there are little observations about what the cultures are like between employees. There are lots of observations about how our customers are different in those two markets. For example, our US customers really want high volume. They want to order, the family size order of cards, whereas the UK customers are much happier with a sort of little side plate, a small plate version of the Moo experience. So there are big differences in terms of what they're expecting from us. And also some other sort of subtle ones along the way. One of the funniest things, though, was just we kept getting emails in the early days from American customers telling us about all the spelling mistakes in the website, like we spelt colour with a U and other things like that. We now actually have an English language version of the site, English, and an American English language version of the site, so that we don't run into those problems anymore. But it's often very small, subtle, funny observations that make it different. I won't go into the phrase fanny because that means something very different in the UK. You encounter those things every so often in pants.